You know, some stories aren't found in books. They're literally carved in stone. And today we're going to decode one of the most incredible archaeological survivors on the entire planet, the Great Stupa at Sanchi. All right, let's get right into it.
Wow, I mean, just look at this. This is the Eastern Gateway at Sanchi, and every single inch of it is just teeming with life, with incredible stories and so much meaning. We're talking about a masterpiece of art and architecture that's been standing for more than 2,000 years. It's just mind-boggling.
But that's gotta make you wonder, right? In a place where so many ancient buildings have just turned to dust, how on earth did this one survive? What's its secret? Well, that's the big mystery we're diving into today.
All right, so first up, let's get into the incredible story of how it survived. And trust me, it's a tale that's part brilliant planning and part, well, sheer good luck.
Okay, to really get why Sanchi's survival is so special, you have to see the contrast. On one hand, you have Sanchi, still standing, but on the other, you have Amaravati. It was once one of the most magnificent stupas ever built, and now? It's basically just a little mound. All its incredible carved panels were just picked up and carried off to museums in Madras, Calcutta, and even London. What a tragic end.
So, the big question is, why did Sanchi make it? Well, a huge part of the answer comes down to the super smart rulers of Bhopal, specifically Shah Jahan Begum and her successor, Sultan Jahan Begum. Get this, when French and English officials came knocking, wanting to literally carry off the original gateways, the Begums had a genius idea. They said, how about we give you these perfect plaster cast copies instead? And it worked. That brilliant move, plus the money they put into preservation, is why we can still see it today.
Okay, so we know how it survived, but to understand why it was even built in the first place, we need to kind of zoom out. We have to look at the world it came from. And let me tell you, it was a time of absolutely incredible intellectual and spiritual energy. Think about it. The middle of the first millennium BCE. It was a massive turning point for humanity. All over the globe, big thinkers were asking these huge, profound questions. You had Zarathustra over in Iran, Kongzi in China, Socrates in Greece. And right there in India, you had Mahavira and the Buddha. It was like a global philosophical explosion all at once.
And in India's Ganga Valley, I mean, people were debating everything. The old Vedic traditions of sacrifice, they were being challenged. People were starting to ask these massive questions like, what is the whole point of life? Is there anything after we die? Is our destiny really shaped by our actions? These weren't just small talks. These debates completely set the stage for a brand new way of thinking.
And out of all this questioning came one of the most powerful new answers. And it came from a man named Siddhartha Gautama, the man we now know as the Buddha.
So the story goes that Siddhartha was this prince, completely sheltered from all the bad stuff in the world. But then, on his first trip outside the palace walls, bam, reality hits. He sees an old man, a sick man, and a dead body. And it just clicks for him that sickness, old age, and death are unavoidable. That one single encounter was so traumatic that it set him on a totally new path to find the truth, and he left his entire life of luxury behind.
So after years and years of searching, he finally achieved enlightenment. And the core of his teaching, the real takeaway, is this. He said that sorrow, the word for it is dukkha, is just a basic, fundamental part of being human. But, and this is the key part, he said there's a way out. That path to freedom is called nibbana. It's about extinguishing your ego, your desires, and that's how you break the cycle of suffering.
Okay, so you have these huge, profound ideas, but how in the world do you take all of that and turn it into a physical building? How do you give a belief a shape?
Well, the answer was the stupa. Now, the word itself just means heap in Sanskrit, and that's kind of what they were. These big mounds built over sacred relics of the Buddha. You know, things like his bodily remains or objects he might have used. The whole thing, the entire structure, became a sacred symbol of the Buddha himself and his journey to liberation.
And the building itself is just packed with symbolism. That big dome, the semicircular mound, is called the Anda. Then, on top of that, you've got the Harmika, which is this balcony-like thing that stands for the home of the gods. And then, rising out of that, you have a mast, usually with an umbrella on top. The whole design is basically a map of the cosmos, but built out of stone.
So who actually built this thing? Well, that's what's so cool about it. We know from inscriptions that it wasn't just some rich king who funded the whole project. No way. Donations poured in from everyone. We're talking royalty, sure, but also guilds of ivory carvers, and literally hundreds of regular people, men, women, monks, and nuns. Everybody chipped in to create this massive collective project of faith.
All right,
Now for my favorite part. Let's zoom in on those incredible gateways. Because this is where the story of Sanchi just explodes into life, in all the amazing carvings that cover basically every single surface.
So the artists who carved these had a really interesting puzzle to solve. The Buddha had reached nibbana, right? Which is a state that's beyond human form. So how do you carve a picture of someone who can't really be pictured? Their solution was absolutely genius. They used symbols.
For example, look at this empty seat under the tree. Now you might think it means he's not there, but it's the exact opposite. It's meant to show his presence. This represents the moment he became enlightened while meditating under the Bodhi tree. It's such a powerful way to show this huge event without actually showing the man himself. Or how about this? The wheel. This is the Dhammacakka, the wheel of Dharma. It stands for the Buddha's very first sermon, where he basically set the wheel of his teachings into motion. A single moment that would, change the world. And then, get this, the stupa itself is a symbol. In this carving, you can see people worshiping a stupa, and that represents the Buddha's final passing away, his Mahaparinibbana. So the monument is the ultimate symbol of his ultimate freedom. But what's really fascinating is that it wasn't all strictly Buddhist ideas. Take a look at this incredible figure, the Shalabanjika. She was a kind of nature spirit from popular folklore. People believed that if she touched a tree, it would burst into flower. The fact that she's here shows how Buddhism didn't just replace old beliefs, it welcomed them in, weaving them into this rich, beautiful tapestry of the entire culture.
So, let's bring it all together. What does all of this mean for us today? What's the real legacy of a place like Sanchi? When you look at it, Sanchi is so much more than just an old building. It's really a library of philosophy, a world-class art gallery, and an incredible monument to what a community can build when they share a powerful belief. It's like the spirit of an entire civilization was captured and preserved for all of us, right here in stone. And that really leaves us with one final thought, doesn't it? If these stones can tell such a rich, complex story about our search for meaning, it makes you wonder, what other histories are out there waiting to be discovered, hidden in plain sight in the art, the buildings, and the symbols that we walk past every single day?